You probably know where this video is going, but time. Time is a very interesting subject, and one that I've covered before with the topic of nostalgia. It's something that's continuing non-stop. You could be having the time of your life, you could be having the worst time of your life, you could be working, sleeping, talking, standing around doing nothing. No matter what, time passes by. As of the release of this video, I am 20 years old, turning 21 in just a couple of months, so my experience of time isn't exactly on par with others I know, but I feel I have enough to at least comment on it. Living in the digital age where technology has evolved a bit too fast admittedly, has really shown me the passage of time, along with seeing some of my favorite childhood locations be changed, altered, or worse, removed. I've been driving more on routes that my parents used to take me on when I was younger, and seeing things slowly be added or removed has a very unique effect on my mind. Is it nostalgia? FOMO? I don't know, man. It all connects to the passage of time though, seeing stuff change around you in real time. It may not be noticeable at first, but at some point you'll blink and realize, wait, this is different. Now, this isn't going to be a debate over old versus new and whether it's bad or not, even though in most cases it is. I mean, what? I bring the topic of the passage of time to talk about the passage of time fictionally. You know, stories told that go over time just like real life. Sometimes it could be done naturally, and sometimes it could be more direct, such as a time skip. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a prime example of this, with each part taking place in its own time period. We get to quite literally see the world evolve as we move from part to part. Getting to see previous JoStars being more mature or more senile in some cases is a great way to show how much has happened. You can directly say that this part takes place years later, but how about showing us that visually? Technology, the way people talk, the way buildings look, those contribute to the immersion that time really has passed. And it's even easier to illustrate that if a story has a central location that takes place in, no matter when the story happens. You probably already know how I'm going to transition this, but let's go on a tangent about video games first. Video game graphics have a very interesting history in how they've evolved. Low-key, graphics but up fast. See the progression from PS1 to PS2 and then to PS3. That shit is unironically insane, and you can see how many game franchises that start from earlier generations leap in quality when they update their hardware. Metal Gear Solid, for example. They knew technology was advanced by showing you Snake's full face in the intro for Metal Gear Solid 2. Look at this model in the first game versus the second. It is insane. And one of the best parts about the new technology is seeing the updated models for everyone, and if that entry follows the previous entry chronologically, we get to see actual aging occur. The opposite can sometimes happen though. Metal Gear often has a bunch of prequel entries that take place further back in the timeline. However, they're made later when technology is way better, so it creates a situation where the further back we go in the timeline, the better the graphics get, which is a really funny scenario. But using better technology to illustrate the passage of time is an amazing way of storytelling. Remember how I mentioned how some franchises have entries that follow each other chronologically? For example, Metal Gear Solid 2 takes place a couple years after Metal Gear Solid 1. A lot of game franchises follow this, although some don't really care about stuff like that, such as the Zelda franchise. There is one franchise though that does follow this, and I believe has really used both the passage of time and technology to its advantage to really show a world evolving around them. They may reuse a shit ton of assets and animations, but they do it in a smart way that people won't call it lazy. That's right. I believe the best video game series that details the passage of time along with displaying an accurate depiction of a time span is Like a Dragon. Okay. The Yakuza series, starting in 2005, is a franchise depicting the horrifying and brutal world of Yakuza, filled with despair everywhere. Hey, why is the footage showing dancing? Yakuza is a series that's filled with love and passion, combining an amazing blend between humor and seriousness to create an immersive world where you get to experience the world of Japan, or at least the city of Japan. It's a very open world game, with certain entries allowing you to explore multiple towns that are filled with their own stories to tell. While the cast of Yakuza is huge, we do primarily follow one guy, Kazuma Kiryu, the Dragon of Dojima. This ex-Yakuza always seems to get his hands wrapped up in some conspiracy shit that involves him beating up everyone that comes his way to protect the ones he loves. And he's been doing it for a goddamn long time. See, the thing about the Yakuza series that's made it really immersive is when the games take place. They roughly take place the year the game releases. Yakuza 1 takes place in 2005, and that game was released in 2005. Yakuza 2 takes place in 2006, and yes, it was released in 2006. And Yakuza 3 takes place in 2008, even though the game came out in 2009. But you know, it still follows a similar timeline to the real world. When we reach Yakuza 6, which came out in 2016, the game takes place in 2016, and we get to see direct results of that. Kiryu uses an actual iPhone now, you can call taxis now from the app, and the arcade machines are the new modern games instead of the shitty games that suck ass. I want to start there, because it's the easiest thing to visually show. For most of the Yakuza franchise, it takes place in Kamurocho, a large city with buildings and shops all over. While the layout of the city changes occasionally due to events that happen in the series, it's mostly kept the same, leading to a sense of familiarity story as you play through each game. At a certain point, the roads will become muscle memory to you, and low-key sometimes I just run around the city for fun looking for any nooks and crannies I may have forgotten. The one thing that does change though in every game, however, are the buildings and the people. After many years, it's obvious the people living in the city and the shops and stores that are around will vanish or change. There used to be this really good pho place near me, but then they closed down. It was around before I was born, but then I think when I turned 15 or 16, it suddenly closed shop. Rest in peace. Anyway, that's accurately depicted in Yakuza. While there are certain places that stay around pretty much the entirety of the series, there are some that randomly disappear. I specifically remember the pharmacy disappearing, which made me sad because I really love getting health items from there. There was also this one store, Beam, which was a CD shop that disappeared after Yakuza 4 for some odd reason. Those are just some examples of stores naturally disappearing after a certain amount of years. Whenever I play a new Yakuza game, I tend to check the map just to see if there are any spots that aren't there anymore. I think people will notice the biggest change in terms of the map when beginning Yakuza Kiwami after Yakuza 0. Like many people, I did the order of 0, Kiwami, Kiwami 2, then the remaster collection until you reach the modern games. Feel free to complain about it, I plan to play the originals later anyway. I spent a shit ton of time in Yakuza 0 as it was my first entry. I learned about the world, farmed money, fucked around. It is one of my most favorite games of all time, and I plan on rebuying on Steam and 100%ing it because I don't use my PlayStation 5 anymore. Playing Kiwami right after 0 felt so strange. I deadass felt like Kiryu once he came back. 0 takes place in the 1980s, while 1 takes place in 2005. And you can tell immediately. Cabaret clubs all around. It's a lot more colorful. Yo, was I in crack writing that? That shit is not colorful. And things look more modern. That sounds like a no shit moment, but seeing it in real time was just mind-boggling. It was the same engine, the same map, but things just felt off. Seeing even the people around talk about different things was mindfuck. And off topic, I think the Yakuza Amazon live action show displayed this really well. Wasn't expecting to talk about that, but anyway, back on track. It's a natural evolution. It's been decades. Trends change. People change. And I like how that topic of the passage of time reflects not only visually, but also from the story itself. One thing I really enjoy is seeing how every Yakuza game starts. Kiryu, always for some reason, leaves Kamurocho, leaving the world a surprise for him as it is for us. The world around him is constantly changing. The people he once knew change due to the events around him, and sometimes he isn't there to help. Is it his fault? Who knows? But it doesn't mean it's too late to intervene and maybe do the things you weren't able to do back then. While I sometimes get tired of Kiryu constantly dipping, it always gets me excited to see what's changed and what hasn't changed. Like, Akiyama's back to being homeless, what the fuck, man? Those who grew up with the original games probably feel that passage of time even more with the graphics. The same place, but different. Buildings get updated, while some stay the same, representing how some things haven't gotten the financial update, and it does get talked about in some parts of the story. It's so cool seeing it evolve in real time essentially. In a way, Kamurocho is a character in itself, and fun fact, even though you probably already know it, it's based on a real place. Kabukicho is the main inspiration for Kamurocho, and most of its map is based off it, besides some differences here and there. Yakuza does this for the record. For Sotenbori, that location was based somewhat on Dosenbori, and Okinawa's Okinawa. These locations have a lot of love put into them, and for the most part, accurately represent how they looked. I think, I don't know, I use Google Images, I don't fucking live there. They are accurate though. In fact, sometimes a little bit too accurate. For Yakuza Kiwami 3, the remake of Yakuza 3, a big part of the game takes place in Okinawa. Also, I'm gonna slide this in, as while I am extremely excited for Kiwami 3, I also have concerns with the casting, specifically the new actor for Hamazaki, Kagawa Teruyuki, as he sexually harassed 2 hostesses in 2019. I have more resources in the description, but I and many others would like a response from RGG Studios regarding the casting, so with that being said, hashtag remove Kagawa. Anyway, for the remake, I saw in the image summary that they actually had to take a look back at old Okinawa photos along with playing Yakuza 3 to accurately replicate how Okinawa looked like at the time, because Okinawa does not look the same as it used to anymore. That makes sense of course, but also shows just how faithfully recreated Okinawa was in the original Yakuza 3. The devs really do put their all into the series when it comes to the maps, and I've always loved that, as it really immerses you into the world. Post-editing Noodle here, I wasn't able to find the image showing that they said this, but I swear they actually said this, so if anyone knows what I'm talking about, please help. Even the people are still around. There are many sub-stories in the Yakuza series that focus on people that the protagonists have talked to before, with some spanning over multiple games. It leads to a very natural immersion of life, like while you're playing for the game, you know in the back of your mind some characters are still around going through life. One of my favorites is in Yakuza 3 or 4, where you come across a bunch of former gang members from Yakuza 1, and it turns out one of them got in the adult video industry, which is just what the fuck. It's funny, but it genuinely gets me excited when I play a new game because I might come across familiar characters. Pocket Circuit Fighter, how I miss you so. I mentioned it earlier, but I low-key miss the arcade games, man. Seeing them go from the old 80s classics to modern Puyo Puyo shit hurt my soul. I fucking hate Puyo Puyo. The worst part is when I need to do a achievement hunting. Now I gotta actually master complex games instead of just driving a car. This is the worst part about playing newer games, FYI, and that's a genuine fucking criticism. I feel like an old person have to play these games. But that's all optional for the most part. I've mentioned it offhandedly a couple of times visually, but I think one of the best ways the Yakuza series showcases the passage of time is via the plot and characters. Kiryu and Haruka are probably the biggest examples of this. We quite literally get to see Haruka grow up over the course of 6 games. We get to see when she looks like a baby chicken, to being an idol, and then becoming a mother. That's how long this series takes place. And Kiryu? Well, actually, it doesn't really age that much until Infinite Welfare. Oh my god, my poor boy. The newer technology really showcases how much older he's gone, and it does hit when it gets to the later games. I think an inevitable fact with the real-time setting is that eventually these characters are gonna hit the grave, and I like how realistic it feels. Take Daigo, for example. We get to see this kid go through his rebellious phase to becoming a full leader. The world and time changes people, for better or for worse. The time skips you get between each game and behind the scenes shows just how much someone can change when time does its thing. Sometimes for the worse. People can just become horrible people due to circumstances outside your control. But sometimes for the better. Spoilers for Yakuza 4, but in Tanimura's story, there's this old cop guy that Tanimura is friends with, but what Tanimura doesn't know is that he's corrupt and working for the antagonist. He's been a dirty cop for quite a while, and at a certain point, he decides he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, helping Tanimura figure out the truth behind a cover-up and his father's death. When he's forced to kill some of Tanimura's acquaintances, he lies to his boss before shooting himself to spare the others. His character is just one of the examples of the passage of time affecting someone. In his case, he isn't important at all, he's just a minor character, but you can look at them visually and see that this man is tired. We aren't given the explicit of how long he's been undercover, but through the course of the story, you see his struggle in hiding the truth and ultimately ending up with him wanting to do the right thing. That's a really weird deep cut I just did. Why did I mention that? There has been a couple of reasons why I wanted to make this video, and why I waited on it for so long. I was waiting to beat Yakuza 6, as it was the end of Kiryu's story, and having it made after 0 was a really good idea, as I could follow up on the past to create parallels and end the story well. I know the story continues in the other games, but come on, you know what I mean. And I'll say right now, this game's emotional beats hit so hard, and it only works because of the past games. Seeing the kids again all grown up genuinely made me tear up, although none of them really changed visually besides like being taller. I don't think it's a perfect end, but I loved all the callbacks to the past to really form a big circle to showcase Kiryu's entire life. And that message toward Daigo is genuinely one of the best speeches in the entire game. It perfectly encapsulates my praises of the passage of time and how because of Kiryu's dumbass, he sometimes wasn't there for all of it. I love the bait and switch of how they make you think it's toward Haruka until you hear Tojo Clan and you realize that's about Daigo instead, and it makes perfect sense. It's just so good emotionally, man. And if I became a random Yakuza YouTuber one day, I'd make a video essay on Daigo. And Mine too, but that's not relevant to this convo. The original idea for this video was created in December of 2024. Now I won't tell you the original title for it, that stays between me and Oshawott, but so much happened between when the idea was pitched in my head and when I fully decided to make it. Things that I thought would happen didn't, and things that I thought wouldn't happen did happen. It's weird. And all of that happened in less than a year, so seeing someone like Kiryu going to jail for over a decade or Saejima chilling in a cell during the first 4 Yakuza games is insane to me. How the fuck they do that? I've been taking my time playing the games, especially with 5 and 6, and those are both the longest gameplay wise and also time wise. I really feel a lot of connection to the Yakuza series, and even though I'm more of a recent fan, god, the way the series goes through time has cemented it in my head. Sometimes the plot isn't perfect, the characters can sometimes be neglected, but the series bound through time, and it covers both the pros and cons of it. Seeing Kiryu look older gets me every time. What happened to my poor boy? No one spoil me. Yakuza isn't the only series that has entries coming one after the other chronologically. I know Tekken is another series that has their timeline pretty straight with every entry. I still can't believe Kazuya has a kid sometimes. There was a lot of other stuff that I want to bring up or mention, but you know, that's stuff for me to go through, although you can imagine what the passage of time can do to anyone depending on how their life went. Anyway, a bit of a short video, but if you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe and maybe check some other videos out. I primarily do love life stuff, but I also sometimes do Yakuza stuff, like I made a Yakuza video back in January about driving, which is... huh?